everyone. I'm Ian,
And I'm Sam.
and you're listening to Do I Like This, the podcast.
Yay!
Yay, this is the podcast where I bring Sam oh my God, the shit I bring Sam. And Sam goes, oh my God, the shit you just brought me. And I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. And she's like, yeah, you don't have to apologize, but sometimes you do.
Yeah, most of the time you do. Every once in a while, I'm okay.
You know what?
Most of
I
the
think the
time, you have
most
to apologize.
the most okay you were was the month last year when we did bad movies on purpose, like bad movies on purpose. I feel like you were the most okay
Yes.
because you knew what we were getting into.
And also because they were like cult classics, so they were like so bad that they're
Right.
good, you know?
Right. Yeah. Speaking of cult classics, that's what we're becoming with our infrequency of
Mm.
podcasting.
Oh my
So,
God.
welcome to everyone. We're back, we think.
I think for now, we said that last time too. We've said that like the last 3 times, but there's like the human babies involved and they're fickle little demons, basically. Sprinkle in some postpartum depression and just some like
Job
anxiety and
changes and,
stress. And yeah, I had to go back to
the
work like
world in
in
general.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh
seeing
god, right?
humans
Yeah.
in person again, like
I was telling you
whatever.
yesterday I was in New
It's
York City. I
fine.
had to go to the 48th floor of a building and I had such anxiety because I haven't driven in an elevator that high in years. And it's like,
Yeah.
but I made it.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I can't complain. My job is like I hang out with kids essentially, but it still is like human contact and I don't remember small talk. And we've had this conversation. Like people try to small talk me and I'm like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah," and then I just fall apart and run away. I
And
don't
literally
know what
all
I'm
I
doing
can do is
anymore.
small talk. Yeah.
Mm. And it's hard because I'm a therapist. So it's kind of like should be in my skill set. And I just, unless you're paying me, I can't do it. So,
So if it's awkward today, realize she's not getting paid for this.
right. This is the free place where I practice social skills. So, yeah, let's soldier on before I get real awkward.
Oh, before we have it already? Okay. Yeah.
Shh,
So
shh.
what a
Don't invalidate me.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
oh shit. We're off the rails. We haven't even told you what movie it is. So we hope to be back more
Tell him, Ian.
frequently. So
Tell him.
let's get into it. This week, depending on when this comes out, it may be getting you in the holiday spirit. It may be getting you in the holiday spirit out of season. What it did was it got us into a really dark holiday spirit because we watched the original 1974 Black Christmas, one of the original holiday horror
Hmm.
movies. And
Which is funny because I've seen like all the old slasher movies. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. And this is one of
mhm.
the ones I had never seen, but I know of, and like I know pieces of it. I know like the iconic pieces of it, but I had no idea like the context. And so watching the movie was a wild ride. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I got so many notes.
So many notes. Hit him with the notes. Um, what I appreciate is this is one of my favorite IMDb taglines in absolute perfection per word usage. So it is during their Christmas break, a group of sorority girls are stalked by a stranger. And that's it. And it's perfect. Like,
Oh, okay.
it's
I thought it was
perfect.
going to keep going. Okay.
No, no,
I
I
thought it was going
genuinely
to get
like I
weird.
mean it when I'm like, this is one of the best I've ever read.
I thought it was gonna get into, like, the sex criminal phone calls or something, or the weird abortion storyline.
No, but the trivia gets into that sex criminal phone calls, and there's a fascinating detail about those we can get to.
See, usually I do all the trivia, and I didn't really look at the trivia on this one. I don't
Oh,
know
I did,
why.
and there's some real good stuff.
Yeah, that's weird because I actually, like, would have been into it, and I guess I just didn't. So, yeah, you'll have to hit us with the trivia while we go
What, did you
through.
have other things on your plate?
1 or 2 human
Well,
screaming mouths to feed.
listen, before we get into the movie, I will hit with the most important piece of trivia. I'm not playing off
Mhm.
that joke, but this movie was directed by Bob Clark, who also did A Christmas Story. He literally
I
hits
did know
you
that.
with two true cult classic Christmas movies
Mhm.
in very different ways, and
The
yet
King of Christmas.
knowing that. Yeah, the king of darkish Christmases. Because let's be real, A Christmas Story is dark. So,
Mhm.
he really does a fascinating job of, having showing some true range in what he can direct. And with that said, Sam, let's just dive right in because this movie's got a lot.
Sure does. Uh, it it has a lot, and it also has, like, a lot of, you know what? No, let's just go.
Yeah, let's just go.
Okay. This so I don't know if it was on purpose. What was that crazy axe murderer Santa movie we did a couple years ago?
Oh, All Through the
Uh,
House. I thought of
All Through
that
the
the whole
House.
time I was watching this. Yep.
I wonder if All Through the House took I know All Through the House. What am I talking about? Of course, All Through the House took a lot of inspiration from this movie, but it definitely
Oh
took
my
a lot
god,
of the
the house.
ambiance from this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the house itself, first of all. I mean, there weren't a bunch of, like, creepy Santa mannequins everywhere, but a lot of the other stuff happened. So, um, so it's like a Christmas house, basically. Christmas lights,
Mhm.
snow, trees, whatever. There's lots of, like, shaky cam happening, um, heavy breathing cam,
Sorry about that.
uh, like, looking through window cam. You know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Creepy cam, let's call it. Creepy cam. Um, we get sorority letters on the house. We know it's a sorority house, even though all the women
Mhm.
inside are like 30, which is great because, I went to
Hey,
college in my
they went
30s,
back to
but,
school and they wanted
you
to be
know,
involved in,
yeah,
campus
good for
activity. Nothing
them.
wrong with that.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I'm proud of them.
What
Um,
I'm not proud of is their chain smoking, but that's neither here nor
oh
there.
my god. That means 70s. And Margot Kidder. So let's go there
Yeah.
first. Margot Kidder, Lois Lane, for those of you
Yep.
who are old like us, the OG Lois Lane. Well, I guess not the OG. The OG would be the black and white with can't remember his name, the guy who played Babe Ruth. Uh whatever. You know who I'm
I got
talking about.
nothing. Nope.
The old Superman that used to be on TV way back in the day.
Nope.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Point is, Margot Kidder, Christopher Reeves, Lois Lane. She's in this movie and she is a treat, let's say.
She's a lot in this
Uh
movie.
well, first of all, she's got like crazy fashion happening. Like, I think most of my notes about her involve, like, what she's wearing, like her choker and her, like, crazy jackets and just, like, the outlandish sort of style that they gave her. It was a little silly. Um, it's party time. She's having a party. She is a party, let's say. She's a
Oh,
party.
yeah. She literally is the, like, personality of the sorority. Like, where she
Oh my
goes,
god.
the sorority
Well,
goes.
I mean, do we wanna say that? Because
Well,
her personality is a
90% of
little
the rest of the
a little
sorority are
abrasive.
mousy, quiet women who just whisper in small
And
conversations.
they're all terrified of her.
Oh,
And they all
absolutely.
think she's like a drunk hot mess, and they're all like, "Oh, it's just her friend, whatever her name is. Let's just,
She wants us to go skiing
put her
with
to
them, sure,
bed."
just say yes.
Yeah.
Just tell her we're gonna do it. We're not gonna do it.
Um,
She's the Tracy Morgan of this sorority where everyone is just, like, on eggshells around her personality.
well, you Tracy Morgan from 30 Rock. I don't know what
Yeah,
he's
do
like
not
in
look
real life.
Barb in the eyes.
I imagine that he is like the Tracy Morgan in 30 Rock in real life, but, I mean, maybe not.
I
So,
choose to believe.
um they have rotary phones. Can we just start with that? Because you and I both were like, blast from the past. Because when we were kids, I don't know about you, but we had rotary phones in my house,
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
right? Okay. I don't know. We were all so poor, so we didn't get like the cordless phones till I was a teenager. So,
We didn't have them until, like, the mid-90s.
okay, I was gonna say, I think we held on to the rotary phones for way longer than we needed to. Um, so the other person in this movie that I recognized was, I don't remember her name, but she played Juliet in the Zeffirelli, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, it's Olivia
She's
Hussey.
famous.
She's Jess.
Yes.
She's our
Yes.
technical first build
Yes.
character.
And so she is the person who keeps answering the phone calls that we're going to be getting throughout this movie. S- Uh, there's like, the movie starts with a phone call. We see, like, th someone is in the attic, like, it's cuts to somebody in the attic, and
Mhm.
this attic is, like, wild. It's just rocking chairs and baby dolls, and
Oh, yeah, it's like the Bly Manor attic.
it's like Bly Manor and Deep House attic when it wasn't flooded.
Yes,
Um,
very much.
right. And then we have, like, Lois Lane's on the phone with her mom, the party at the house is ending, the men all get kicked out. There's a man in a furry jacket who
Mhm.
reappears later that I assumed must be a killer because nobody wears a jacket like that unless you have murdered something or someone.
That
Uh,
jacket has prerequisites.
right. So
Like, you have to unlock this jacket by doing enough levels of sorority murder. Otherwise, your character cannot equip it.
this house has the most iconic orange shag carpet. Like my when I grew up at my grandma's house,
Mhm.
um, I don't know, it definitely wasn't there when you had met her, but when I was growing up, it was like thick shag orange carpet, like orange, orange, and that's what this carpet looked like, and it made me remember grandma's house. Uh, and there's just, like, psychedelic housewife curtains, like, this whole house is wild and crazy.
This whole house looks like every surface absorbs every bit of cigarette that's smoked in it and just smells absolutely atrocious.
Yeah. I have written here, and I don't remember it. All I have written here is Ian, and then in quotes, "gold-plated whore." Is what is that?
Listen, I'm a
I'm assuming
bronze-plated whore at best, so I
I'm
think you're
assuming it was a line
overrating me.
spoken by Margot Kidder, but in what context and to whom it was directed, I have no idea because we watched
You
this
know,
movie, like,
so
a month
this
ago.
brings up an interesting thing. I watched it like 2 days ago, and I still don't remember that line
Oh.
because I remember a couple very specific lines in this movie, particularly a line about townies later on. So, there was a lot of dialogue in this movie that was just
Mhm.
absolute throwaway garbage, and side conversations that seem to be happening on screen. And particularly, so the first girl, I won't mention who it is, but the girl who gets killed's dad shows up for a lot of the movie. And every time he's
Mhm.
talking, I don't hear a word he's saying. It's absolutely irrelevant to me. And
He's
his
like Charlie Brown's
delivery is
teacher.
like they
Yeah.
put the mic halfway across the room and they're like, "You got this. All right, go, go. Yeah, yeah, that's good. One take. Yeah, we're fine."
Yeah, as they were running out the door. Um,
The rest of the cast was like, "You shoot this. We're gonna go. We gotta hit lunch. You're good, right? Yeah. You don't need a sound guy."
so then we meet our house mother, kind of, right?
Oh, chef's kiss.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
she
no, no,
comes
I'm
in.
sorry. No, 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 I'm wrong, that's not yet. I just wrote, "Is Lois Lane the house mother?" Because I thought she was,
Oh,
like, much older than everybody else, and honestly, she probably was in real life,
yeah.
but we're just not gonna go
Listen,
there.
if her
Um,
her partying behavior is any sign of it, she's been retaking a few years a few times, so she probably is older.
right, so we get to this point where she's asking them to all go skiing with her, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm sure I
Bitch,
guess
you're drunk. You
so."
can't ski.
Oh, it makes me sad because in real life, Margot Kidder, from what I recall, died from, like, significant alcohol use disorder, if I
Mm,
remember correctly, and so playing that up in this movie made me feel really sad for her,
ugh.
but, there's that.
Oh, it's gonna make
Um
you didn't see Elves. Tom and I talked about Elves, and there's a character in Elves, and the actor, we joke because he like is phoning everything in, and we're like, he just got tanked and shooting this film, and they're like, well, he's the name. That's kind of what I felt like with her character was like, is she
Mhm.
playing it or is she just drunk and like I'm getting a check here?
Yeah, she was the name, like, she's the reason why anybody watched this movie. Um no, it doesn't matter. I was gonna Google her, but I'm not going to because she just had a sad life, let's just say that. So,
But she was in a great
um,
this movie, so
she
there's
was
that
in
positive.
Superman, so she's been in a bunch of stuff. So, the guy in the water buffalo pelt is the boyfriend of a lady in the house. We don't know their names. I don't know if we get most of their names until much later in the movie. Then we get the phone ringing, and Juliet,
Mhm.
I'm calling her Juliet. I don't know anybody's names.
So her
Lois
name
Lane
is
and
Jess.
Juliet. Okay, Jess. but Lois Lane and Juliet are, like, the main characters, and those are who I'm really
Mhm.
talking about. She's yelling, "Hello." So the other part of this is the actress is British, and they just, like, let her keep her British accent for sometimes in the movie. From, like, time to time she has it and time to time she doesn't. I don't know, maybe her backstory is that she's British, whatever. It was just weird because I wasn't expecting it. Um,
I'm intermittently British, yes.
but she picks up the phone and, like, just starts frantically yelling, "Hello, hello," and you and I were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I would fuck with you too if that's how you answered my phone call.
Right. Apparently somebody they're calling the moaner has been calling them. He's making, like, creepy sounds. It turns obscene. There's lots of snorting, like pigs snorting. Um, honestly, can I tell you this? I don't know if I said this to you
Yeah.
during watching it. It reminded
Oh
me of
god.
when I worked at MCRT a little bit. I used to work on a mobile crisis team, and we fielded phone calls 24 hours a day, and from time to time, we would get an obscene phone call. Um, it this reminded me of that a little bit. We would log it and laugh about it. Um, and when I heard this, I was like, "That sounds familiar."
So, the interesting bit of trivia for this is they weren't playing any of that audio. It was literally just Clark reading the lines verbatim to the
Oh,
women while they were doing that scene.
I
So they
think
were
that's more
reacting the way they
disturbing.
did. Yeah, to him just reading what was happening, and it would be him being like, "Dabba, dabba, da, shut up, slam, shut up, you stupid bitch, da, shut up." And I'm like, I would probably get a better, you probably get a more disgusting, appalled reaction from me by doing that than
Right.
hearing what they actually played.
Snort, snort, you're a cunt.
Yeah, right.
Like, what the fuck?
Like, oh god,
Everyone's
is he having
everyone
like a stroke or is this the scene?
but the thing I think for me, the scene was so weird because, like, nobody seemed disturbed. They seemed, like, weirded out, but they weren't, like, concerned. They were like, "Oh, that guy's so weird." But they weren't like, "Oh, girl, we're in danger," which is my thought.
Well,
I'd
this
be like,
is
What the fuck?"
this is 70s. This is pre-internet. People don't think bad things happen to people. They don't have the deluge of information yet. This
But they
movie,
had
another interesting trivia thing, was
multiple
supposed to
mass
release.
murderers.
So yeah, but so after this movie was made, NBC was going to release it as a holiday film on TV, and 2 days before they were going to was the Ted Bundy murders down in Florida. So
Oh,
they
yeah,
ended up
that's,
delaying it. So, some
yeah,
of these
okay.
things hadn't been, out there on such a mass level yet. I mean, so I guess maybe I could see, that response being more like, "This is silly," versus,
Yeah,
"This is dangerous." Nowadays, I mean, like, "This is a silly, dangerous problem. You're
yeah.
reported."
Well,
And I'm checking my attic.
and here's the thing, like, it was really disturbing. Like, it was disturbing to listen to. Like, I made a joke earlier. I mean, obviously, the things that I heard, like, at my old job were nothing on this level because if they were, it would have been a problem, but, like, it was just, like, pranking kind of stuff, I think, or somebody who was in distress, but it didn't rise to this level because this is fucking disturbing because this made my
Yeah.
skin crawl a little bit. I'm not gonna repeat any of the stuff he said because his voice was creepy, the stuff he was saying was
Mhm.
really disturbing. Um, so then Lois Lane takes the phone and starts talking shit to him, which I loved.
Yeah,
I
dude.
love that.
Mwah.
Um, and then all of a sudden this voice, it was like a high pitched kind of like weird voice. It changes and it
Mhm.
gets super flat and it just says, "I'm gonna kill you." And then
Dude, that was terrifying.
I was like, "What?
So
What?"
good.
Huh. Uh,
Mhm.
she Lois Lane makes a gross rape comment, which I think you is the one that you were talking about. And
I
nobody
think it's a little
cares.
later on. I think it's a
Okay,
little
well,
later on.
this in my note, it says she makes a gross rape comment, and so I was assuming it was
I
that one.
think the
But
rape
she maybe she
oh, it
made more
is.
than
So she
one.
says okay, yeah, no, I remember what it is now. So, first of all, before I say it, I found it fascinating that the entire group of, like, 15 women could hear this rotary phone just held in a circle of them clearly from this guy
Right.
whispering. I was like, I don't remember the speaker being that great. But okay, benefit of the doubt, suspend disbelief. So once they
Mhm.
get off the phone, everyone's like kind of freaking out a little. She goes, "No, it's just a fucking townie." and something along of like, oh no, oh, let me I remember. So they one of the girls mentions, oh, some other girl was like raped or something, and she goes, "It's a townie. You can't rape a townie." And I was just like, "What the fuck? Holy shit,
Yeah.
Barb! Wow,
Barb. Is that her name, Barb?
yeah, that is some
Barb.
pre Me Too bullshit right there."
So
That's some fucking
gross.
like
Yeah.
pre 1950s women's right to vote. I know the women got the right to vote prior to that, but
Yeah, I
let's
was
be
gonna
real.
say,
Before
yeah,
nineteen
the
fifties,
20s.
women still were treated terribly. But like that's like
Right.
some pre 1900 bullshit.
Yeah, and, like, nobody bats an eyelash. They're just like, "Oh,
No,
yeah, this is." I wonder if it's just because they're just so conditioned to, like, that's just who she is, that they're just like, "Well,
that's Barb being
whatever."
Barb. Yeah,
Meh, silly old Barb. Um,
very old
so then we
Barb.
have everybody's dispersing for the night. The girl whose boyfriend is in a water buffalo pelt earlier, her name is Missy, it looks like, from according to my notes. She goes to pack because she's leaving, uh, for
Oh
winter
yes, yep,
break.
sure.
Now we get our real house mother, who, as I said earlier, chef's kiss.
Miss
Uh,
Mac.
she
Yep.
she busts in what I described as a Hunter S. Thompson outfit with the visor kind of look, and she is wild. She's just wild. I enjoy her thoroughly, and we'll get way more of her
She
later.
has Billy Eichner energy to me, where she's like, "I need a drink, girls, get me a drink," and I'm just like, "Oh, she's coming in hot." I like that. I like this house
Yeah,
mom. Yeah.
yeah. So then we jump to M Missy. Oh, I'm calling her Missy, but what I wrote was Prissy Girl. I don't know what her name is. Let's just keep calling her Missy. She's in her room. This is I've seen this scene before. This is, like,
hmm
one of the famous scenes. There's somebody in her closet, and she
Yeah,
doesn't see it, but we do. She's looking for her stupid cat. Um, she goes into the closet like, "What is that?" And then we
because
get
it's
the
like
jump
looking through
scare of him.
plastic.
Right, he's behind, like, a plastic bag, he, like, jumps through the plastic bag at her, and we, like,
So
see that,
good.
and then we see, like, her, and it sorta, like, flips, and obviously she's murdered.
Yeah.
This is awesome. So that's cool. So that happened, and that happened pretty like, fairly quickly as opposed to some of the
hmm
movies we've watched recently, so I was like, "Oh, good, I hope this is continues to be satisfying."
So an interesting
Unlike
point on
some.
that. The script originally called for way more gruesome and vicious deaths, but the Bob Clark, the director, really said, "I want to do less is more here," and I think it was an absolute
Mhm.
brilliant decision on his part because that scene is perfect. It's
Yeah.
like with Psycho. You could absolutely have shown way more, but that shower murder is perfect because it hits exactly what you need and it's terrifying.
Less is more is usually the way to go in a lot of these movies, in my opinion. It's just my
hmm
opinion. So, unless you're going for like a sleeping bag swung against a tree kind of
Yeah, unless
thing,
it's Piranha
or
3D, and
chopping
then
off
I want
someone's.
more, more, more.
Yes, yes. Or I was gonna say we're chopping someone's dick off with hedge trimmers. So
That movie could have done a lot
it
less.
could have, but I think we talked about that in
Yeah,
excess during the movie.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so we have we're like jump back to the house mother. The girls have all given her a floral nightgown, and she's like, "What the fuck is this? Thanks." Um,
This
we
isn't
see
Brandy.
there's no bear in here. Um,
This girl is Prue from the baking show. Like this woman is like,
she
I need my
is.
liquor.
She
She's got it
is.
hidden in her own house.
We see upstairs. There's a shadow like sneaking away with the body. It looks like kind of.
hmm
Um, we get lots of like slow panning shots, and then this bad guy, whoever, is back up in the attic. Um, so I don't know. Should I say this now that like this is the movie where the whole thing comes from? Like the calls coming from inside the house.
Yeah,
Like that's the
yeah.
famous part of this movie. So
hmm
honestly, like throughout the whole movie, I was like waiting, like when is that going to happen? When does that happen?
Oh, you're gonna wait.
Is that But, I mean, I knew what happened toward the end, but when it happens was
Mhm.
not when I expected it to happen, is what I'm
No, and
saying.
how it happens is not how I was expecting
Right.
it.
No,
I didn't
no.
I didn't expect the entire, like, infrastructure of a phone company, which was kinda fun. But
Oh
I
my
always
god, we can talk about
these
that,
kind
that
of
was so
movies
weird, but yeah.
we will. These movies now this is like the godfather of the calls coming from in the inside of the house, so it gets a pass, but
This
I
is
do
the
always
call
yeah.
is coming from inside the house, right?
Yeah, I do always kind of it is. I do always kind of find it funny how, like, they had a very accessible attic. No one fucking went up there ever, ever. Like, how infrequent do you have to go in your attic that someone can live in there and murder you slowly, calling you from it, and bring his victims back up there, and no one searched it. This one girl is
But,
missing. No
Ian,
one searches the attic.
nobody thought that calls were coming from inside the house until after this movie came
Did
out.
wait,
Duh.
did, like, people not realize they had attics until the '80s? Like, do they just not know they're up there? I mean, maybe
Oh
that was
god.
it.
Uh, so now
I would have thought
we
sorry, last thing.
have
I would have
oh,
thought, like, couple would have been trying to sneak up there to bone or something in a sorority house. Like, you figured that room would have gotten some action.
I mean,
Although
maybe
they
it
might have
did,
gone
we
up
don't
there,
know.
seen the creepy rocking horse, and been like, "Nope, not boning up here.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Nope.
I'm all set. I don't need any of
Abstinence
this.
is for me." Yeah,
Yeah.
save until marriage.
Too many cobwebs.
Yeah, for too many tarps draped over shit. I don't like this.
Yeah. Um, so we're back to Miss Max. She I wrote B is for booze. Is that what she says?
Yeah, she does. And also when you call her Miss Max, I just think it's Mac's mom, which is not too far off.
Mrs. Mac. It's true. She's like she looks like Charlie's mom, but she acts like Mac's mom, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
She has the energy of Charlie's mom with the behaviors of Mac's mom. Yep.
The
Yeah, it's a perfect
countenance of
description.
Mac's
She's
mom.
awesome.
So she's got sherry in a book, like straight sherry inside
Mhm.
of a book, because apparently this is a dry house, maybe a dry campus. I don't know. The 70s were different.
No one told Barb.
Juliet comes in. She gets a phone call. It's her boyfriend
Mhm.
Peta, who's the fucking
Oh,
worst. Okay,
dude.
we'll definitely get into
Mm.
that more, but she wants to talk to him face to face. He's been practicing something at this point we don't know for 3 days, and I'm like,
And when we
like
find out, it's
football,
fucking
like what the fuck?
ridiculous.
Oh god, he's like the worst ever. Um, so Mrs. Mack is like, we cut back to Mrs.
Mhm.
Mack. She's like brushing her teeth. She's drinking sherry out of the toilet to rinse her mouth.
For the
Maybe.
record, it's a hidden sherry in the back top of the toilet. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
sherry
no,
directly out
she's
of the
not just
toilet.
like drinking it directly out of the toilet.
But I wouldn't put it past Mrs. Mack. I feel like if she got desperate, she would have no problem with toilet sherry.
Right. Now that you say that, I'm just picturing her with like a ladle, just like
Flush me another round.
like
Just fills
bathtub
the back
gin
with it
from
so she can
Prohibition
fill it
era.
up.
Right. Oh man. Um. So we're doing like lots of jumping here. We're
Mhm,
jumping back to Juliet. She's looking for that girl who got murdered in the closet earlier. She's
mhm,
knocking on her door. She's not answering. Um, we see her face like wrapped in plastic,
mhm,
and she's upstairs in the attic, rocking in the rocking chair that's like by the little
mhm.
attic window. So she's dead, obviously, and she's in the house. Blah blah. Okay.
Yep.
Now we cut to a massive, ominous church, and I said to you, I was like, "Are we at a funeral, or is this just like on campus?" Um,
I said I have no
there's
idea. This is an interesting choice.
this whole like these little pieces like are stupid. This is like what you were talking about. This is that girl's dad,
Mhm. Yeah.
who the first person who got murdered. Her name is Claire. Her name is Claire. Everybody. Uh, this is Claire's dad. He's like walking in front of this church. It's on campus. It's like a campus building, I guess.
We have
He
no
gets hit
idea
by
if what type of time has passed either, by the way. Like, there's no
it's the next day.
affirmation of
No, it's the
anything.
next day.
Oh, it's the
We
next
do.
day then her
Yeah.
dad oh, because okay, because he's coming to
It's the
meet her.
next
For a
morning.
second, I'm like, does
Mhm.
he think she's missing? And
Yeah.
then I forgot. Okay, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, he gets hit by a snowball. Somebody helps him up. We find out this is
Fucking
Claire's dad
assholes.
because he's looking for directions to her sorority because she never showed up to meet him. So they had this big party. It went into the night. She was supposed to pack and leave,
Mhm.
and she never met him in the morning. Um,
I will say he has a snowball hittable face.
He
I would have
sure
thrown
does.
snowballs at him. Yeah.
I would have thrown all the snowballs at him right in the face. So he's looking for directions. He's going to the sorority. Blah. So now this is definitely the next day.
Mhm.
Lois Lane is just at their so they're at like a Santa party, like where someone is dressed up as a Santa Claus and she's a helper, and there's all these children, and she just is like dropping F bombs everywhere and like chain smoking. And I'm like, what? Why is no one asking her to leave? I would just be like, girl, leave. We don't need you. We're good. Thanks.
No,
Have a nice
because this is the
day.
'70s. People don't care what happens to kids.
That's true. They like blew smoke in their faces and told them to suck it up. That's
Learn to
why
survive or don't. It's the '70s. You become an
well,
adult or you don't. Not my problem.
that's why I'm treating so many, adults with trauma, who have children with trauma, who have children with trauma. Oh, man.
It's
So
almost like your environment impacts who you become.
just a little bit. So, Claire's dad is at the house, at the sorority house, and he's very unhappy with all the naughty posters, and stuff that's in the house, and it's basically, like, teenage girl stuff. It's in the
Oh my
'70s, so
god.
there's, like, a couple of naked butts or something.
Yeah.
Um, the house mother's, like, trying to cover it up. She's asking him for a ride. She's, like, kind of drunk. She is,
Oh, she's kinda trying to get
um
it. Yeah.
she's she's, like, talking about, um
Miss Mac wants her cheese.
What?
She's with the way she's going at the dad, yeah.
Oh
She's
my
she's like, "You
god.
give me a taxi ride?" And he's like, "I do
Well,
not
no,
wanna
no,
get involved in that experience."
I think the angle they were going for is that she was, drunk and getting drunker as time was going on because she kept, like, sneaking drinky poos, and then she, like,
Mhm,
comes out with, like, only half of her lipstick on, and she's, like, yelling for her cat, and Claire's dad
mhm.
is like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't
Is
just jump all over that. That's total babe
it was
magnet right
so
there.
bizarre, it was so funny because she just was, like, hamming it up really hard and, like,
Yeah.
acting like a fool, and he just was like, "Get the fuck out of here, really? You're responsible for my
Marion
kid?"
Waldman, that's the
Right.
actress's name. Well done,
She
madam.
was very funny, yeah. Um, so so he takes Mrs. Mack and he's taking her for wherever she needs to go, and so we see them leave the house, and then we see his the from the attic window them leaving the house, and like the side profile of his daughter's dead
Mhm.
face wrapped in plastic, which I was like, I like that. I enjoy
Yeah.
that. That's a good one. That's good. So we're back with Juliet. She's with her boyfriend.
Mhm.
Um, so she goes to meet him. Um, and the thing he's been practicing for 3 days is piano. He looks like he's 50, which, do your thing, but he's so unattractive with his stupid turtleneck and his awful Farrah Fawcett hair. Um,
I mean, that's what'll happen after 3 straight days of going hard on the piano. You're not gonna look your finest. And when we see him play
so
later, he goes hard on the piano.
oh my god, he's crazy. So she tells him she's pregnant and that she wants an abortion, and he's like, "No, I want it." And she's like, "Well, I don't." And he's like, "Have you ever considered anyone but yourself?" And I wrote, "Fuck off, Peter." Like,
Mm.
seriously? Not your body, bitch. Like, get out of here. It's not like you were planning
Peter's
to have children with her. This
right,
was an accident.
Peter's like, "I want this baby to be around so I can abandon it for weekends while I'm in piano, trances."
Right. And he's like insisting that she keep it. And it's so this is like a theme, an underlying theme of the movie is like this guy, um, like, needing to be in control of her body,
Mhm,
basically, and I think it's, like, a cool parallel to somebody, like, taking control of other people's bodies and fucking murdering them, um, but it's, like, her, like, really l this was, like, big for this
yeah,
point in time because she's saying, like, "Dude, I got shit I wanna do. I'm not prepared for this. This was
mhm.
not on purpose. Like, I can't, like" you know, I can't bring someone in this world that I don't want and that I can't take care of, and I feel like it would be irresponsible, and I'm not gonna do it, and you can't make me because it's my body.
And you're like,
And
"Good for you,
obviously
Juliet.
yeah,
You fucking tell this piece of shit who has no right to tell you what to do." And what
right.
was interesting, and I think horror does this, one of the benefits in the horror genre is it's able to take these really topical societal topics and really put them front and center because of everything that's going on around it, desensitizes people to not necessarily the mundane, but more of the normal conversation or the
Mhm.
more relatable things, and I think that's what it does so wonderfully is this movie makes a great case of like, dude, guys should have no fucking say because this guy is the worst representation of men ever, and if this is how anyone could possibly try to force someone into the decision, wh- how on earth do you think you have any right? Like,
No, I think the other side of that conversation is that sometimes they're a great guy. Sometimes they're a great representation of a partner. Because let's just be serious, it's not just guys. They're a
sure.
great representation of a partner or a supportive person. But when it comes down to it, they really feel like some sort of ownership over
Mm,
your fucking uterus and the cells within it. Like, dude, first of all, like, no. Okay. And second of all, like educate yourself. You know,
right.
it's not a viable human being for like 20 something weeks. And
How would you
here's
like if
and
she turned around and was like, "Dude, your semen is fucking mine. I don't want you to spill a drop anywhere unless I give you fucking permission." And see how the man reacts. I know it's not the same
right,
parallel, but I mean,
right.
it's as close
Yeah.
as you can get.
Look, I'm getting a little bit deep here only because like I need to say from my perspective,
Mm,
first of all as a woman and as a person who has had babies and as a person who like had infertility and who like really wanted babies and struggled with babies, if I
mhm,
got pregnant and like something was, wrong that could be potentially harmful to me or, the baby, or if I got pregnant with fucking triplets, dude, I can barely handle 2. I It would be horrible, and I would never, ever, ever bring a human being into this world that I could not mentally and physically, like, take care of, and I'm not gonna incubate them in my body to give them to somebody else to take care of because who knows where they'll end up. I work with
right.
so many kids who have been in like foster care, who have been in these like shitty fucking placements. I know people who have like murdered children. Like fuck that shit. I'm not bringing a kid into the world to give it away to Lord knows who is going to like beat, rape, molest, whatever them. Like fuck everybody who says that.
Yeah,
I
you're
am
not
on
gonna
my
bring them
high
in to play the
horse.
lottery of their
I don't
future.
care. Right. I don't care what anybody has to say. I really
Mhm,
don't. Like your body is your choice. If you choose to do that, then that's fine. But I personally, like this is me speaking from my perspective. That is not cool with me for you to tell another person what to do with their body. If somebody does want to like have the baby and like put it up for adoption, whatever, that's fine because there are wonderful foster parents. There are wonderful adoptive parents. I've also met them, like really incredible people who do way better than the biological parent could ever have
sure.
dreamed of doing. And they're the most wonderful people I've ever met because they're like I said, there's two sides to the coin. I'm not me
It just shouldn't
personally
be you
not
shouldn't
taking
be
that
forced
chance.
to have to
Right.
take that chance. You should have the
Right.
choice. Yeah.
Exactly. So, it's it's a sensitive subject obviously for a lot of
I haven't heard it
people.
brought up lately.
No, not at all.
No.
Who's trying to control your body? Well, yours, nobody. Who's trying to control my
Well,
body?
the
Older
woke
dudes.
like lefties and this gun which is attached to my hand, which is part of my body,
Right.
right? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right. Are you
Oh,
James
fucking
Woods from that weird fucking movie?
dude, did you hear? All right, hold on. Just a total aside because you said it. I was watching. Jordan Klepper had one of his fingers, the pulse, like before the midterms, and I kid you not, he was in
Mhm.
Arizona, and one guy is the conspiracy theory that Biden was killed in Guantanamo Bay, and James Wood is playing him with a mask as the president. And I was like,
What?
I fucking knew it. I knew it. I was right the whole time.
But
No,
James
uh,
but James
yeah,
Woods is like
yeah.
a QAnon moron, right?
James Wood that is like an understatement of the year for the garbage that James Woods is.
Someone
Just,
someone make a
I'm
trail of
sorry.
candy to a box and trap him in it, please. Throw like Ted Nugent in there while
Oh,
you're
piece
at
of
it.
candy. Oh, piece of candy.
Okay, let's move on. back to the movie.
What we watch
Um,
again?
I don't remember. Oh, yeah. We're watching Juliet tell Peter,
Mhm.
"I'm not gonna change my mind." And he goes, "We'll see." And I've never wanted to punch someone's dick off so much in my
Oh
entire
my god.
life. So,
The white the male the cis white privilege, the cis male white privilege of that fucking comment is insanity. Insanity.
yeah. So now we're
We'll
back to
see.
Lois
Oh.
Lane. So now we're back to Lois Lane at the children's Santa Claus function where she's literally giving them alcohol.
Oh,
And I
she's getting
wrote,
kids
I really
drunk.
hope, yeah, I really hope she dies soon. Claire's dad is there and he's very concerned, as you should be, Claire's dad. Um, Juliet is at home by herself. She gets another creepy phone call, something about Billy, like Billy, oh, Billy. It was very weird.
Yeah.
Now we cut again because it's just like jump, 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 jump. We
Mhm.
cut again because there's all these different things happening, and then they're all going to come together soon. I promise. Um, Claire's dad, Lois Lane, and some other people from the sorority, maybe they go to the police department to do
Mhm.
a missing persons report on Claire.
Where Lois Lane cracks open a beer, which was just
Oh,
absolutely full on Barb.
yeah, we like jump back and forth, but basically, like Lois Lane is the most inappropriate person and would have gotten
Yeah.
arrested in this day and age, probably in that day and age too.
Mhm.
If she was like being so weird to the officer. She was like like making like fellatio jokes at him because he didn't know what the word meant.
But it pays
Uh,
off. It pays off
it
later.
does. I actually was like, "This is so stupid. This is the dumbest joke." And then later on, like at the end, it like I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of funny."
Listen,
Um,
it doesn't pay off in a way where you can justify having that in the movie, but if
it's
it's gonna be in the
stupid.
movie, at least they did something with it.
Right, at least they did something with it. So she's just, like, fucking with him, she's, like, giving him a hard time. He's, like,
Because he's
not
fucking with
interested in
them.
her
He's
shit.
ignoring them, yeah.
Right, he, like, thinks that it's not a big deal, and she just is, like, making it way worse. Um, and, we see, like, it flashes to Mrs. Mack is back at the house, like, searching for Sherry, which I guess is what she does. "Screw those kids that I'm supposed to take care of. I'm gonna find all my Sherry hide spots."
Yeah.
Then we see Juliet goes to find Claire's boyfriend. There's like a whole scene with him playing hockey. Who fucking cares? He's in his wolf pelt coat and he shows up at the police department. Um, while all of this is happening, we're getting
Mhm.
cuts of Peter ferociously playing piano for whoever it is he's trying to impress.
I
He's
would
very
argue that he was violently playing piano. Ferocious
yes.
doesn't even like, he is assaulting that piano.
Yeah. And he's super sweaty and his hair is terrible, and it sounds like an action horror drama is what I wrote.
The 3, like, recital critique judges or whatever you wanna call them look like prisoners, and because 'cause they're sitting in, like, the middle of the room in 3 chairs, it's this, like, kinda grand room watching him play horrendous piano, and they keep
Yeah,
looking at it like, "Alright, if I move, they're gonna shoot me, so I guess I have to stay for this."
yeah. So all of that is happening concurrently, okay? Now we're back to the police department and a woman comes in and says, "My 13-year-old daughter is missing." And so this becomes a thing. I don't know why, but it becomes a thing. Um, Claire's boyfriend in his big floofy coat, busts into the police department.
Mhm.
He's apparently friends with the sergeant, whoever's in charge. And he's like, dude, do something. And so
Right.
that's where the police kind of are like, "Oh, I
Like,
guess,
"Yeah, one of the rich
whatever."
people who elected us is asking us to do something," that kind of
Right.
vibe of like, "Yeah, alright, I guess we gotta do something."
Uh, because I guess that wolf water buffalo pelt jacket denotes his level of wealth in that
I mean,
society, maybe
you just don't get water buffalo in a suburban neighborhood. You gotta go and find it.
because that thing is
That's
powerful.
imported. That's imported.
It's
Yeah.
so
From, like,
important.
back in
Yeah.
time. Like, I don't think water buffalo are around. I think you have to go, like, a couple 100
You have
years
to go to
back in
Africa to
time. That
find them, I
that
think.
takes some
Yeah.
good money, yeah.
So,
If you told me, by the way, that Peter's piano music was the killer, I would have believed you.
Yeah, I would have believed that as well. It manifested and
Yeah.
so much energy that it
Every
turned
time he
into
practiced, a
a phone
sorority girl
call.
was murdered somewhere.
Well, it's like, what's the movie with the was it Ghost in the Machine or whatever, that weird movie that we watched with, like, the phone call or the electricity was, like,
Yes.
killing
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
people?
yeah. Yep, yep, where he got it he
Right.
was part of the server. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, early
yes.
internet. Oh, mwah.
So fun, so
I'm
good.
glad we got all those murderers out of the internet in the '90s because that
Yeah,
was such a
oh,
problem.
man. There were so many of them. It
Dude,
was
that's why
becoming
that was
an
dial-up was
epidemic.
literally people, like, trying to scream as they move, like, "Beep, boop, beep." That was people just yelling as they were, like, going through the wires, right?
Yes.
There's no better
So
explanation for it.
back to the movie. Now we're back at the sorority house, and everybody's there. Claire's dad is there. He's eating dinner there for some reason. Lois Lane is very drunk.
I have no idea who prepared
Very
that dinner
drunk.
because Miss Mac and Lois
She's
didn't do it.
no, can't imagine. They must have ordered in because they're both so drunk. Um, Lois Lane is talking about, like, having sex with zoo animals? Is that what I wrote down? I just wrote humping zoo
You're
animals.
correct. I also really liked the lounge couch in the dining room. That was a really
Mm,
nice
mhm.
touch. Like, they're
Yeah,
clearly
well,
like,
she
Barb
needs
needs
it.
to sit somewhere, and
She
she
needs a
can't sit at the
rest.
table. It's too nice.
Right.
We can't have her drunk ass at the table. Give her a
Well,
couch.
there comes a point in time where one needs to take a quick cat nap before they can rally and
Repeatedly.
return, right? Return for
She's got a
dessert.
couch in every room, let's be real. They're like, "Barb's gonna pass out everywhere all the time." Like, have a surface for her.
So they make her really unlikable. I mean,
Mm.
she's already kind of unlikable, but she's really unlikable after this scene because she's like screaming and yelling at everybody. She's being super rude. She's like, "You all blame me for everything, Blair." And I'm like, "Well, it's probably because it's your fault, but okay."
I feel like she's like the
So
roommate who sells your shit for booze.
yeah. It's really sad. So I wrote again, like, it's really sad because she pulls off a person with an alcohol use disorder, like, really well, which makes me think that, like, I'm pretty sure she did have one in real life. And it's that, like, mindset of, like, being the victim and, like,
Yeah.
everybody demonizing you, and it all comes from this place of, like, self-loathing and self-hatred and, like,
So
so it made me feel sad for her. Like, I felt so much sadness for her.
I found it, and I like your thoughts on this. I found it very interesting. So this movie sets up a lot of different character personality traits and aspects that never come other than um, Juliet's pregnancy, because that plays into,
Mhm.
who is the killer really strong.
Right.
Like, Barb's personality is irrelevant to the movie. She
Right.
didn't need her alcoholism. I thought they
No.
were gonna lead into like her death in some way, like very clearly, or her survival
I mean,
some way very clearly. I
so
mean, I guess
spoiler
they
because
maybe do the
yeah.
tiniest bit.
So, because I was just gonna say spoiler because she does die, obviously. The way she passes out so hard that she's passed out for the rest of the movie after this point and then gets murdered while she's passed out. So I
But
guess the alcoholism set up that
I
death.
guess the alcoholism me, but all of her personality otherwise and the shit she says is indifferent to the movie. So like I said,
It
like
was
so
all
much
for
of the
the
dialogue,
fellatio joke.
yeah, all for the it was all you're right. They just wanted to set
Yeah.
her up as like, she's gonna make a dick joke. Cool. But I don't they just put
Mhm.
she's had so much camera time and so
Because
much
she's the name,
personality.
dude.
But I know, but if you're gonna have all that, you should it should be something. Like, it was
Eh,
very odd
whatever.
to me. But anyways, at least she was delightfully good at it.
She had to be like the foil to everyone, basically.
And
You
that's
know,
what the
you have to
murder is
have
for.
well, not necessarily, because the murderer is kind of like off screen the whole time. You need someone on screen to kind of play against
Eh. I
for
mean, Peter's
15
already
minutes until
there, so
she
you don't
figures out.
need another one.
Right. Well, he comes in more aggressively after this. And by aggressively, after all of that happens at dinner, we cut to Peter, who is absolutely vandalizing a piano because apparently
Yeah.
his recital went poorly.
I was like, if this is success, I'm terrified if it's wrong.
Yeah. Oh my God. He's going insane. He's like the Who. You know how they would like smash up all their equipment? He's
I
like
mean,
that, but not cool and
my
not
first thought
talented.
was like, so is that your piano? Or like,
Whose
Uh,
piano is that, Peter?
that's not
Because
a
your
cheap
sense
thing to
of
replace.
ownership is
Right.
misplaced. Do you think it's yours and therefore it is yours and you can do whatever
Well,
you want with it, so you smash
as
it?
I was gonna say, as we've heard him talk to women, I guess that is how he thinks of things. So
Mm,
maybe.
right. So I guess he's totally justified then in
If
white
I've
male
touched it,
land.
it's mine, and I can do whatever I want with it. Okay,
Yes.
Peter, that's gonna get
Right.
you a failed piano recital, among other things.
Oh my gosh. So, we're back at the house.
I
We
just have
have
fur coat is hilarious written in my notes here.
I just wrote Pelty McPeltson and Juliet bring home a search party and the police department. Mrs. Mack um says, "I'm going away, so I might not be here for that." And so I wrote, so that means she's dying, right? The detective I wrote detective eyebrows because his eyebrows
Mhm.
are they're caterpillars. And he's
Yep,
somebody,
yep.
I recognize him. I can't remember his name,
Let me
but he's
see.
detective eyebrows. Where do I know him from?
He is John Saxton, plays Lieutenant Ken Fuller. Let me pull up his IMDb. Let's
Mdib.
see. He has been Nightmare on Elm Street, the
Oh,
original.
that's
Yeah.
he's been in so many things, but
He
that's
was in
one of
Enter the
them. Yeah.
Dragon. Yeah.
Yes. He's been in
New
a
Night. Yeah. All
lot.
right. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so the search party though is for the missing kid, but the detective is like, "Well, I guess if we see Claire, we'll like keep an eye out for whatever." So they're taking her disappearance very seriously. Um,
All I'm gonna say is defund these police.
they look like they don't have any funding though, babe.
That is a
Do you see
problem,
his
right?
tie? Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Maybe fund these police. Ugh.
Yeah, maybe fund different things than they're already funding. Um, so Mrs. Mack is in her room packing and drinking. Uh, we we flash to her cat that she couldn't find earlier is up in the
Mhm.
attic and is licking the dead body. Mrs.
The
Mack goes
cat
to
is the
find him.
killer.
The fucking cat. His name is Claude, by the way. Claude is the killer, you guys. Just
I
so you
mean,
know
a cat
later.
named Claude, I'm very skeptical of what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. He seems sinister to me. So
It's one
Mrs.
dangerous
Mack is
pussy. Oh, in the sorority
Ugh.
house. Ugh. Will we keep it in? Find out when you listen.
Stop talking. Stop making jokes for 2 seconds.
No. Okay.
No more pussy jokes for now.
Hey. That's probably for the
Unless
best.
unless something comes up, but it shouldn't. That's what she said. So the attic is open.
Ian, settle down.
Mrs. Mac climbs up in a way I have never seen someone climb a ladder.
So wait, you should
Um,
also describe this ladder because it's not a normal ladder. It's like wood planks on a
no, it's just
wall.
yeah, it's just like recessed,
Yeah.
like nailed into the wall that you climb
Yeah.
up. It's actually like kind of cool. I thought
It
it was kind
almost
of
looks
cool,
like someone put them there so they could
like a
descend and
bunk bed
murder people. Like it
in a
wasn't
really
originally a
flashy
function.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so she climbs up in this really bizarre way that is like asking to get murdered.
Mhm.
Um, we see hands holding a metal pulley with a hook, like the point
Mhm.
of view of like hands holding it, which I enjoy. Um, she looks up and she sees Claire's body and she's just like, "Oh, this little thing." And then all
Fucking
of a sudden
Sherry,
she's
man. Sherry will distort your ability to understand what's happening.
but when she sees the pulley coming at her, then she's like, "Oh no!" And she gets hooked in the face. And her death
Mhm.
is not quick. And that's that.
Just solid.
Right. Um, then we have like the taxi driver is like yelling into who's supposed to come pick her up. He's like yelling at the door. She's not answering, so he leaves. And that's it
Remember
for
when you
Miss Mac.
called taxis to come get you? You didn't have to give them all your
Now it's
personal
an Uber.
information. Yeah. Just like, "Here's the
um,
place, be there, I'm gonna pay you in cash." Versus, "Here's my social,
don't worry,
here's when I
I'm
was
not a
born, my
murderer.
mom's maiden name, yeah. Here's my habits and where I live."
So the killer so I should say that everyone is out of the house at the search party at this point except for Miss Mac.
Mhm.
So she's alone in the house when this happens. Then we have the
Claude's
murderer just
there.
like screaming. That's right, Claude, that little fucker. He was the one who was holding the pulley. Um, Claude, or the murderer, is screaming and, like, ripping stuff apart in the attic,
Mhm.
and I wrote, "Why? Why?" Like, what if somebody was home? They would hear him, like, why?
Would they
So,
in this
whatever.
house?
I don't know.
I do wanna say this house is kinda labyrinthine for a sorority house. It's pretty big.
It kinda reminds me of,
It's got, like,
was it
McAllister House
s
vibes.
no, Silent what oh god, Silent
Silent
Madness?
Madness.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
With, like, the
Yep.
catacombs underneath the fucking house and shit, like,
Mhm.
it's got a similar look to it.
Yeah, I think there are
Um,
700 bedrooms in this house.
so Juliet comes home alone. The
Mhm.
search party finds something. I'm pretty sure that it's the little girl,
Was it
but they don't
the
say
girl?
that,
It was the
right?
little
The
girl, and she was
13-year-old, yeah.
killed, yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing that maybe our attic murderer did that, but I don't know. Um,
Welcome to, I guess, just an excuse to get the only thing I think is it's an excuse to get everyone out of the house except Miss Mac. You
yes,
could have done it very
yes,
simply by, "There's a party at a
right,
frat," or, "There's a
and get the
pizza.
police
We're gonna go
involved
all eat."
somehow.
Yeah.
But
Get
yeah,
the
but
whole
you have to
town
also
on
get the
search
police
alert. Yeah.
out, right.
Yeah.
So at
Okay,
the
now that you say
house,
that, I'm okay with it. At first, I was kind of really skeptical on why this plot line was even there.
yeah. So at the house, the the killer is like screaming, "Please stop me." He's like making creepy noises and he's yelling. And that's what makes me think like, "Oh, maybe he killed the kid before he came here?"
Mhm.
I don't fucking know because some of the stuff he says later on like makes me think that he killed a kid or something, right? If I remember
I mean, I
correctly,
don't
some
think
of the
this
stuff he
guy
was saying.
leaves the house, so, impressive if he did.
Yeah. Um
Also, where does he
so
eat?
what do you mean? Where does he eat?
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
Claude's food's downstairs. Yeah, 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 never mind, never
he's
mind.
not hungry.
Duh.
Yeah. Or he maybe he drank all of the sherry and that's why he's not hungry.
Oh, that's why Mrs. Mack was,
That's why Miss
like,
Mac was
looking for
looking
him,
for
yeah.
it.
She's like, "I know there's someone else in this house because I know the girls and someone's taking my sherry, and it's not Barb."
So yeah, sorry about that. There was a pause in our recording there. So bam, 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 bam.
Children!
Where was I? Okay. Juliet is alone in the house. She's dialing the phone and
Mhm.
we see someone on the stairs behind her. It is Peter. He says he was upstairs sleeping, which is weird, right?
Very
Eh,
weird, seeing as he manically plays piano 24/7.
well, and also that, like, somebody just got murdered in the house and he didn't hear, like, the murderer, like, yelling and screaming and, like, ripping shit apart, so there's
Mhm.
that. But
I mean, the trance sleep he must have been
well,
in.
you and I both were saying at this point, like, he's our red herring, like, he has to be. Like, he has to be the red herring.
Yeah,
It's just, like,
he's the
2 in your
MacGuffin.
face. That's not what a MacGuffin is, Peter or Ian, Peter.
I know, I just wanted to throw that word out there because I like saying it. It's a great word.
It is a great word. So, she gets on the phone. She's on the phone with the police talking about the obscene phone calls, and she gets, like, an officer who's
Mhm.
totally dismissive. "Oh, it's just one of your boyfriends joking around." Like, what the fuck? Even if it was your boyfriend, like, that's fucked up, right? Um,
That's y fucked up thing to
yeah,
do.
and, you know, it's just, like, I think that that's, like, another layer to this movie of, like because it's the women. They're treated like they're
Mhm,
stupid. Nobody takes them seriously until a man
mhm.
comes in and says, "Listen to me," you know? So, um, so now we get Juliet and Peter, Jess, whatever her name is, and Peter. They're talking at the house. He's leaving the conservatory. Uh, he's like, I'm leaving the conservatory and we're gonna get married." And she's like, what?
Oh,
Oh yeah?
huh,
And she's like,
interesting.
I have hopes and dreams and I'm not gonna marry you. And it's not fair to ask me to give up what I'd like to do with my life. And I don't want to. So fuck off, Peter.
Great. Fuck
Yeah.
you, Peter.
And I'm a fan of her whole
Just because
vibe.
you couldn't crack it as a
Right.
pianist, it's not her fault. She doesn't have to go uproot her life for
Right.
you.
So Listen, if he's the one who
It's in your fucking
could carry
wardrobe,
the child, sure, stay home. Be a stay-home dad, that's awesome. Plenty of stay-at-home dads.
right? You get teats that work and produce milk, go for it.
Yes. You get a uterus that can pop out a babe and do your thing, Peter. But until then,
Right.
you don't get to make her have one. Because you
Yeah.
know what?
Until Junior is our reality. Fuck off,
Carrying
Peter.
a kid and birthing one is incredibly traumatic, and if you don't wanna do it, I can't even imagine. Like, I really can't. Remember how sick I was with the little one?
Yeah, I don't wanna
Oh
do
my
it.
god. If I didn't want him, uh, yeah, wild. So, that is that. So now we're back at the police department. Um, the worst cop ever is what I called him. He's the one who's been, like, pretty much ignoring everything so far. Um, on screen, let's say.
Sergeant
Sure.
Nash.
He's being
Yeah.
reprimanded for being ignorant, um, and not
Mhm.
taking any of this seriously. Um, is this the part with where the joke
The
pays
fellatio
off?
payoff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
all the other detectives are laughing at him because he, like, wrote down fellatio as, like, part of the address or something, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yes.
Um,
Yep. Mhm.
and
It's like Fellatio Lane or
right.
something,
So then the sergeant
which it probably is.
Detective Eyebrows is, like, he's like, "We're gonna investigate." Yeah, because Detective Eyebrows sees the fellatio note,
Mhm.
and he's like, "What is this?" And the guy goes, "She gave it to me." And that's the joke. She gave
Yep.
him the
Yep.
fellatio. Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
Ha ha ha. Ha. Moving on.
Uh, it was let's be real, it's dumb, but it was kind of satisfying in the moment. It was
Yeah,
fun. But again, not worth the effort to set that up for this movie, but sure, why
right.
not?
So now we're back at the house, and Juliet and
Fellatio shouldn't be that hard, okay?
what? I missed that. I started
I don't know.
talking and
I
I
don't know.
missed
I
listen, it's probably
I thought I
like
had a fellatio joke, and then
you went all Margot Kidder on us,
guess
as in made
you know
a
what?
shitty
I
joke
guess
that maybe will
I
pay
guess
off.
fellatio is just not my strong point.
That's okay. Not everyone can get down. So now we're back at the house, and
Mhm.
Peter and Juliet are still arguing. He's like smashing their ornaments on their tree. He's calling her selfish. He's demanding that she have the baby. He's threatening her. And I
I don't know
wrote,
how she
he's
hasn't
a
punched
fucking
him at this point.
Republican, isn't he?
Oh god, yeah. Yeah. No, he's a fucking, like, libertarian. This is, like, some
No,
weird
no.
shit.
Libertarians tend to be a little bit more like loosey goosey about certain things that have to do with, you know, like personal
Mm,
freedoms, as opposed to Republicans just want to like control every single piece of you.
yeah.
The police show up and Detective Eyebrows comes in with Claire's boyfriend and some other person. And they're going to go look in Claire's room and they're going to put a trace on the phone. Uh, the trace on the phone has to be a whole other conversation because it is crazy.
Yeah.
It is something else. Um, but in the meantime, he's like asking questions about Claire. He's telling them like this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna
Mhm.
keep a cop outside in the car. We have the trace on the phone. You got to keep him on the phone as long as possible so that we can get the trace. And oh my god,
I mean,
that
if
is
this
a
is why
whole thing.
if this is I
Yeah.
think I learned why in every show they're like, "Keep him on the line longer," because the process it takes to trace a phone call is really in depth. I didn't
Right,
realize.
we see it later and it takes many minutes, but essentially what's happening is, like, some guy at the phone company has to be called to say, "Hey, there's somebody on the line, need to trace it." And then he goes, "Oh, okay," and he goes to the giant machine with all the little switchboards and he f finds the little
Yeah.
ploopy thing, and then he runs all the way to the other
To
side
the
of the
person's house
warehouse
who's on the phone.
to another switchboard because there's like 1,000 of them. He has to find the very right switchboard, and then he touches that little ploopy thing, and then he runs back to the other one, and then something somewhere tells him where the ploopies are
I
coming from.
think it was easier for Indiana Jones to, like, solve every single mystery he solved than this guy was to track a phone call.
Did you watch Indiana Jones? He didn't solve mysteries, dude.
Well, I'm talking
He
about,
didn't
like,
solve
how he
mysteries.
followed all the clues in his father's journal to, like, find locations of treasure and
Okay.
shit. That's
Okay.
mysteries. They're mysteries, all right? Where did this
Sure.
thing
I'm,
go?
like,
I'm gonna go
crying
find it as a
laughing.
mystery, yeah, you know?
He's, like, solving
Hey,
mysteries. Get out of here.
Dr. Agatha Christie Jones was one of my favorite shows
Indiana Jones is one of my favorite, like, fictional characters of all time, and
because
for
of the
you to
mysteries,
demean
right?
him by saying he just solves mystery.
You you like him because of the mysteries.
I can't stop laughing about it.
Yeah. I thought you I very much recall you saying, "I love Indiana
Ugh.
Jones because of the mysteries, and I love watching people help students with extra credit after class." Those are the only 2 things you ever mentioned about those movies.
He's a treasure hunter and an adventure seeker.
Just like
Solve
Laura
mystery.
Croft solves mysteries, right?
I'm sorry, did you say Laura Croft?
Yeah.
Did they ride together in the mystery machine? Like,
Yeah,
what the
right? Exactly, yeah. We're on the same page, you get it.
Oh, man. God dang it. Okay. So outside of the house, I'm
Mhm.
crying laughing. Outside of the house, Peter is watching from behind a tree. Um,
Not suspicious behavior and, at
not at
all.
all. Not at all. Um, so some girl is like taking some pills because she has a cold and she's
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna be knocked down. So I was like, okay, you're dead next, I guess.
Sure.
We get an ominous shot of the rotary phone. Um, to be fair, rotary phones are horrifying to young people, like millennials, I imagine, or
Our kid
below.
loves
What's
them.
the next one? Gen Z, Gen whatever, Zoomers. It's probably horrifying.
Ugh.
Um, in practice,
Mhm.
horrifying. As a plaything, sure. Um, so in the attic, the killer is gently rocking Claire with a doll in the chair, her dead body.
She got more screen time dead than she did alive.
Yes, absolutely. Good on her. She milked that role. Um, so here's what I wrote. So Ian, is this a
Mhm.
Christmas movie? Is this a Christmas movie or is it like not a
Um,
Christmas
I would
movie?
have titled
What
this
are
like
your
Black
thoughts?
Holiday. It definitely felt like, or like Black Winter Times, because like Black the snow is out. It definitely Black Christmas. I guess it was probably more marketing than anything because I don't really remember a lot of true Christmasness happening.
I just remember like snow and like someone gives someone a gift and at one point like we see Santa Claus.
Yeah, there's some Christmas lights
So
abound.
that's I think that was just like a little sidebar
Black
that I
December
put
would
in
have been a
the notes.
good title.
Yeah. So then Lois Lane apparently has really bad asthma because she wakes up gasping.
Hmm.
And a nightmare gave her asthma, and like she gets her inhaler and uses it. And I guess that's a plot device of some kind because it never comes up again
I
that I
got
remember.
nothing. Like I've already said my piece on her character and all the
Listen,
missed opportunities.
I think she did a great job with the
Sure.
character. I think the character didn't really add a whole lot to the plot except to
Yes.
like rile people up.
100%.
Yeah. So we get some like Village of the Damned Children caroling. Juliet opens the door and just stares at them awkwardly for a minute, and it's really weird. And then, so here I wrote a note to you, Ian, and I
Hmm.
said, what is the caroling etiquette? Can you just like look at them, be like, high five, and then shut the door? Or do you have to like sit and wait for them to like finish a few songs? Like, are you supposed to praise them? Are you supposed to tip
No, this
them?
is this is a really good question. I'm glad you asked. I've been waiting for an opportunity to really, shed my thoughts on this for a long time. The etiquette is you make it just as weird for them as it is weird for you, and you just sit there silently until they leave. That's my move. Like leave the door
So,
open.
because I wrote,
You either let them make them keep singing songs because you're like you're gonna carol at me, fucking keep going, or you just like you're standing there, I'm like smiling and looking at them, but you don't say a word, you don't move, you don't blink, you barely breathe, and you just have to make them like deal
well,
with that moment.
my question is like, how do you separate? Like, how do you like end the transaction like of
First of
this?
all, I think it's strange that you call this moment a transaction. Um,
Because it feels like a transaction, because they are providing something to you, and then are you supposed to be like, "Great job,
I
here's a
mean,
tip." Like, is it like trick or treating? Like, you're supposed to give them candy or
well,
something?
no,
I don't know,
the
I've never
whole
had
concept of
carolers at my
caroling is
house.
like bringing it's bringing goodwill. It's spreading, the songs
I know
of
that.
some people's Lord and Savior and goodwill. I thought, if it was poor, you're supposed to throw hot coffee at them or hot chocolate and like scatter them away. It all depends on how well they perform.
So, well I was gonna say, is it like an Ebenezer Scrooge thing where you just scream at them and throw things and slam the door in their face? Or
I mean,
because you said poor.
well, if they sing
Does
poorly,
that mean
is what I
like
said. If they do
oh,
a
oh,
poor
I
job,
was
the
saying that they
quality
were
of their
like poor
performance.
people. I was like,
Oh, I'm
"Eek,
not.
oh my god."
No, I mean, if they're rocking up here in Nordstrom, I'm gonna throw some paint and like make a climate
Well,
change
because that's
protest.
well, that's why I was saying, like, where you is this like an Ebenezer Scrooge moment? Like, you're gonna
No,
throw things
honestly,
at the poor people? Like,
and the
what's wrong with
reality
you?
of it is, I just don't answer the door because caroling's weird as fuck to me. I've always thought it was really weird.
Yeah, I would hear I feel like I would do, like, the Jehovah's Witness move where you just, like, pretend they're not
Oh, no, I
there,
would've straight up
and you just,
shut
like,
my
don't open
lights
the
off
door.
while they're doing it so they could
Yeah.
see I'm home and absolutely trying to ignore them because I'm like, "I don't want you on my property. You're doing this without my consent. How about have some
Um,
property autonomy and respect there?"
can I just tell you a fun fact about me? When I was a kid, I hung out a lot with my grandma because she was the coolest person ever. She is the coolest
Fact.
person ever. Um, and I was part of the American Legion Ladies Junior Auxiliary, where we did a
That's a
lot of
long
community
title.
service. Listen, I know. We did a lot of community service, and a lot of that
Mhm,
community service involved going into nursing homes uh, uh, all throughout the year and like
mhm.
providing like entertainment, I guess. I don't
Reason to
know.
live, yeah,
Fucking
gotcha.
Easter, we wore like stupid hats and like gave them bunnies.
First of all, in the name of your grandmother, you do not call those hats stupid. Those hats are amazing,
She knew they were stupid, Ian.
but she made them amazing.
She made us make them extra stupid.
I
Also,
see the picture of
Helen,
her in the bunny hat with the
yeah,
little fluffy tail,
yes.
and she's the best, yeah.
I would say Helen was a prolific hat wearer,
Mhm,
okay, of all the craziest hats ever. But we also did Christmas caroling every year at
mhm,
the nursing homes. And I remember being like a weird, chubby, like 10, 11-year old with my best friend Jamie,
mhm,
because I made her join me with me and my cousin Kate. And we would be like dressed up and we were super awkward, weird teenagers, and we would like go caroling for these poor people who I'm sure like were like half of them were like, this is lovely, and the other half were like, get the fuck out of here. What makes you think I'm interested in this? And I just remember like going from like room to room, and some of them were like catatonic and like it was very weird, but we would like sing a song and then be like, are we done? Can we go to the next room?
I
Okay,
mean,
let's
I
go.
honestly think the
It was
nursing home was
very
trying to
weird.
clear out some beds and seeing if they could get some people to check out.
Yeah, listen, caroling, I feel like in the Victorian era when you didn't have, like, entertainment was fine, but I feel like if carolers show up at my house now, I would assume they're, like, gonna murder me.
Yeah, if the alternative is freeze in the dark because it's the 1700s, go caroling, have at it. But yeah,
Sure.
I don't know how that has made it through the eras. That is a vestigial, h hobby if there ever was one.
So, now we are in okay, so to get away from the caroling, because that is happening in the movie, right?
Mhm,
And meanwhile, while it's happening, um, we get Lois Lane's room, and there's a big dude with long hair that looks kinda like Peter, but I'm pretty sure is not.
mhm.
Um, and he says, "Agnes, it's me, Billy," in like this creepy voice, and he just starts stabbing her. And then in the weirdest, like I don't know if they were going for like artsy fartsy or something. She has all these like little glass figurines around her bed, and the whole she's just slapping them around,
It
just
felt
like
out of place.
slapping the figurines, and they were just like shattering, and it was so
I was waiting
bizarre.
for her to, like, shatter a snow globe with a sled in it,
It was so weird.
like, really go all in on the famous
And it's, like,
directors.
between it's, like, juxtaposed with the caroler, so it's meant to, like
Mhm.
I don't know, I think it was trying to be artsy. And
I
then
think
and
they
then I
were
go,
just
"Ooh,
trying
a
to
tip."
say, like, the carolers are why they didn't hear it happening.
Yeah. Well, Juliet tips them. I forgot about that because I wrote it down. So, I guess
Such a
that's what you're
college
supposed to do.
move to waste money like that.
Um, and then I guess a lady runs up to them and says, like, "Children, We need to go home. Somebody's gotten murdered out because the kid got murdered out here. Let's get
Yes,
out of here."
yes, yep.
So that
Speaking of
happened.
which, I would have been
Um,
like, "Kids, you're not going out because this 13-year-old girl is missing, and we're looking for her, and something's happened." I would have been like, "Maybe we carol tomorrow night."
yeah. I mean, listen, you can't kill all their fun just because somebody got murdered.
I mean, for a night you can, but I mean, that's just responsible.
So we're back inside. The phone is ringing. We're calling him Billy. That's what they call him. This is Billy, and he's crying, and
Mhm,
he's like, you hear a man, woman, and child. The voices are screaming, but it's all the same
mhm,
person. He's just like changing his voice, and it's like very creepy. And he's like repeating the same phrase that Peter had said to her, but I can't
yep.
remember what the phrase is off the top of my head. Do you remember what it was?
Your body's my body. I don't
What did
know,
he say?
something like
Oh yeah,
possessive.
something like that. Something like possessive. It was very creepy.
We'll
Um,
see.
and so I wrote, "Oh shit!" Like, oh, maybe it is Peter,
Right.
and maybe they're making it very obvious on purpose. It's supposed to be on purpose, but we'll see. We'll get there. Um, the police. So the phone hangs up. The police call. They say it wasn't enough time. You got to keep him on longer. They start asking about Peter, but before they can talk, um, something happens at the police department where he's like, "Oh, I gotta go," and hangs up the phone. And it's this whole, like, weird moment where there's, like, a farmer who shot a cop in the butt,
Mhm.
and it's like, "But why? Like,
'Cause
why?"
it's the best answer I've got for you.
Right.
Oh, the line was
Um,
something about getting a wart removed that she had told Peter. So only Peter
what?
knew about it. Yeah, that's my note. Says prank caller uses Peter's line about wart
That doesn't
removed.
sound familiar. I
So
thought it Oh, that's weird.
it's
Okay.
right because I remember it was
Oh, it's no, it's because he's talking about the baby and he's equating it to a wart, and he's like, "It's not just like
yes.
getting a wart removed." That's
It was a
right. Gotcha.
conversation that
Yeah.
only they had, exactly, but it happened in the
Yes.
house,
So
which is why it works.
right, because he was listening.
Yeah,
Right.
because Claude heard them.
Um Yes, Claude, that feisty little pussy. So, Juliet, she thinks it's Peter now because
Mhm.
of that phone call, and that's what she says to, like, the other person that she's talking to. She says, "Yeah, I think it's Peter." The
Yeah.
phone rings again, the person's crying, and he's saying, "Can't kill the baby, don't hurt the baby," like, all that stuff. It
Mhm.
was, like, very bizarre. Um and the cop is the detective eyebrows. He's because he can hear these phone calls in
Yeah.
his office because his phone is hooked to her phone. And he's like very disturbed, and he's calling her and asking her about it. And so, uh, like when I was watching it, it didn't occur to me that everyone's assuming, oh, they're talking about her like aborting her fetus.
Mhm.
I thought that it was like Billy like reenacting, like he hurt a baby or something.
He started a lot of people's
Like,
baby.
so I wasn't it didn't even, like, occur to me, like, "Oh, it's Peter saying blah, blah," like, it didn't occur to me until later on that I was like, "Oh, that's why they think it's Peter because of, like, the abortion angle," and it just didn't occur to me.
I get it. With a movie
Be
this fast
you
paced,
know?
you're gonna miss things.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what's happening here because the cop is like, so he's like, "Peter's on our list,"
Mhm.
he's who we think is the guy.
He's our husband did it suspect, yeah.
Yeah. And, the cop's like, "You gotta keep him on the line longer," and she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is awful, but sure, whatever." Um, and then there's, like, this whole, like, weird moment where there's, like, people outside the window, like, making noise,
Mhm.
and girls giggling, and it just turns out to be, like, neighbors who are looking for the killer.
Right, the ski mask guys. Yeah.
And it's like, ugh, there are just so many moments that, like, listen, I'm gonna say overall, like, this movie is good. Like, it's good, but there are so many moments that are just, like, unnecessary that feel like it just kinda, like, makes the momentum go for a minute, and it doesn't need it. You know what I mean?
I do. It's
It almost feels like it's trying to scare you too much.
This movie is like trying to make your way through a maze and just constantly hitting random dead ends and having to backtrack and get back to the main
Right,
storyline.
right. So at this point, it's Juliet and like one other girl, the girl who was like,
Mhm,
I'm taking the cough medicine to pass out. And so they're the ones in the house. They don't know that Lois Lane is dead at this point. They think she's upstairs sleeping. So they're like, you know what, we're like locking ourselves inside because of this killer that's out there who
mhm.
killed this child, not realizing that they're locking themselves into the house with the killer.
Dun,
Um,
dun.
this other girl whose name I never wrote down, she goes in to check on Lois Lane. The door slams.
Phyllis, because I wrote, "Phyllis, if you were as common sense
Phyllis.
as on point as your nightgown, you'd survive this movie."
Mm, Phyllis.
Yeah. Great nightgown.
Yeah, it was a great nightgown. I love those old school nightgowns.
Mhm.
I'd probably get like tangled up and I'd wake up with it like around my head, but there's that.
It's the price you pay for fashion.
So Phyllis goes to check on Lois Lane. The door slams behind her
Mhm.
and she's
Done.
murdered
She's
next.
done.
Now Juliet's alone. She's calling out to the other girl and then she gets a phone call.
Mhm.
Um, the cop has left the car. S- So is there nobody monitoring
The cop
her
is
anymore?
dead
Or
in
no,
the
the
car.
cop, I'm sorry. No, 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 I'm sorry. The cop has left the desk, so he's not
Oh,
monitoring the
okay.
phone
Yeah,
call.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
then we see that the cops are dead in the car, but we'll
Yep.
get there too. Spoiler alert. No, like we're not
Oops.
spoiling the whole movie. So the call is just like yelling and screaming and it's very disturbing.
Yep.
The police department are out looking for Peter, and so they find his vandalized piano. Um, they they can hear like all these calls over the radio. Um, and now we're getting a look at the whole tracing
Mhm.
system. Let's call it a system
I'm gonna call it,
because it
like, the
is a
underground,
system.
this was like
What's the
the
song?
what
What's the
song?
song that Chester sings
"Imma trace
from
this
Blazing the
car,
Monster
I'm
Machine?
gonna run around underground. I'm gonna find the
N-
place where it came from." No,
no, no, no,
I don't
no.
know.
Systems.
Oh, dude, there's so
Systems
many.
all working together.
Well, working together, systems, getting
Yeah.
things done. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, that one.
yeah,
Again, the police are, like, hearing the calls over the radio now, so, like, as the police are out, like, looking for Peter and,
yeah.
like, canvassing and stuff, they're hearing the phone calls through
So
their radio,
fucking duh,
and
so
it's,
fucking
like
creepy.
it's so creepy, and it's like, "Billy, Agnes, where's the baby?" And it's, like, very bizarre, and this is where we get the moment where she's on the phone and
Mhm,
the tracing is happening and you're seeing this dude like running around 20 miles. He's doing a 5K,
yeah.
uh tracing the phone call, which is why it's disturbingly long. And
What
the
she said.
dumbest cop in the world, the dumbest cop in the world, he says the line,
Ugh.
and he shouldn't have said it
He
here.
was trying to be, like, subtle.
He shouldn't. Right, they needed to tell her because Detective Eyebrows was like, "You gotta tell her to get out of the house. She needs to leave the house. She has
Mhm.
to get out of the house." And the guy's like, "Get out of the house. The calls are coming from inside the house." And she's like, "What?"
For a second, he's like, "Claire or Juliet or Jeanette or whatever your name is, like, I need you to just walk outside, shut the door behind you." She's like, "I gotta go
Mhm.
upstairs and find Phyllis." Like, that's the level of an smart decision making
Right.
he's making, and he's finally like, "God damn it, get out of the house! The call is coming from inside the house."
But he doesn't he she says it once or
Yeah,
maybe twice, and instead of saying like, "You need to leave right now. We will figure that out later. Get out of the house immediately." He just starts
yeah.
yelling,
Dude, you
"The
lie to
calls are
her.
coming from inside the house." Right.
You just tell her,
Which
like, "I've got an
first
officer.
of
The
all,
officer's coming in. He's gonna go check upstairs."
right.
Like, you just lied, incompetent cop.
The calls coming from inside the house line
It's
is
a great
so
line.
fucking creepy. Such a great line.
Yeah.
It's so scary. And like
It's partially because it's yelled into your face.
right, and it also just like makes everything like boom, like all of
Mhm.
a sudden everything gets like real heavy.
It's like, we knew it, now she knows it. We're on the same page with
Right,
her now, it's all gonna go.
right. We flash to the cop outside the house in the car is dead, and I wrote, I knew it.
I do like in my
um,
notes while this was the conversation
yeah.
was happening, I do write, "Leave the house, dum dum." Like, that's
Yeah,
how frustrated
yeah,
I was with her not picking up what he was
right.
putting down.
Well, because no one has cared this entire time, and they've been
Right.
so, like, flippant about it, so when they finally, like, decide to care, she's like, "Oh, who cares? I'm riding your vibe, it's fine."
You'll describe this in a second, but my next note is describing what we're about to go to. It's just all caps, "Holy shit, corpse pile."
Yeah, it's nuts. Um, so it's it's just really, really ridiculous, but she starts yelling that she's not leaving. She picks up the fire poker and just starts to go upstairs, and I wrote, "I can't,
Still coulda just walked out of the
like,
house,
underlined, like,
right?
I can't. He just told you the calls are coming from inside the house, you goddamn dum-dum.
Yeah.
So you're going deeper into the house, okay." She kicks open the door, like you said, piles of corpses. Um, there's an eye, like,
Oh,
looking
I
through the
love
door.
this.
That
It
was
was
so
so
creepy, it was
terrifying. I
so
loved it.
good.
Yeah.
So good. So we get a chase, there's, like,
Yeah.
screaming and smashing. She locks herself in the basement.
His killing move's fucking fast, by the way.
Yeah, well, and also, like, this is, like, really well done, like, the chase kind of in
Mhm.
the basement where she's, like, going further and further into the basement like a dummy, but whatever, and I wrote, "Keep the high ground, you had him in a
Right.
bottleneck."
Well, this is
It's going down the
100%
stairs.
ripped off. This is what all through the house 100% ripped off when they
Oh,
have, like, that
yeah,
chase scene,
yeah.
and she keeps going down into the
So,
lair.
she hears mumbling at, like, the window from outside, she sees a shadow. It's Peter, and he's
Mhm.
yelling and asking her if she's alright, and she's like, "Get the f I'm not,
Yeah.
no," and
I'm
so she
good. I
stays
don't need you right
hiding.
now.
And so he kicks the window to get in. And then Ian and this is where I wrote, Ian and I are arguing. I don't think it's him. He
Mhm.
does. He's going to get murdered, right? And I because I said it's too obvious. It's too obvious for it to be him,
And my thought
right?
was
And you were like,
this
"No,
was
it's
the
him. It's
first
him."
one. Like, this was the early I
Mhm.
didn't think they were gonna need to go to that complexity yet. I thought that,
Right.
the story being it's him was good enough for and that's still a
Right.
fine movie. I like that movie
No, I
too.
agree with that.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
You have that on tape now.
I'm going to play it on a loop. This was, like, one of the first slasher movies, right? And so I part of me did have the feeling like I don't think they would go that, like, deep into it. Um,
Yeah.
but, we'll get to what happens. So here the cops pull up. We hear her screaming inside. They break down the door. We're in the
Mhm.
Detective Eyebrows gets down to the basement. Peter's laying in her lap dead, and she is
Mhm.
alive. But she looks unwell. Like, she
Yeah, yeah,
looks,
I would say she looks appropriately unwell.
yeah. So here we get this. So this is the end, guys. We're wrapping up. This is the ending.
Amazing.
This ending this ending makes the movie. This ending is
Mhm.
why people love this movie, okay?
This ending is why the
Right.
genre does this now.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's why it kind of, like, wants to turn things on its head. So,
The original M. Night Shyamalan.
listen, I don't dislike M. Night
I don't
Shyamalan. People got a
dislike
lot of
him,
hate for him,
but he's
but
got a very
not all of
basic
his
move.
movies needed to have a twist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just
So,
pace yourself.
here we go. Um, they're back in the main house up from the basement.
Mhm.
She's laying in a bed. She's being treated by a doctor at the house,
Mhm.
not in a hospital, not like in
At
a
the scene of the
emergency
crime,
room, at the scene of the crime in the house. And I'm like, why is there not a hospital?
where there are
Whatever.
other bodies they would have found in the upstairs room, like
Did they find the bodies? Is my question. Did they even fucking
I don't
look?
know if this police
Right?
force did that much work to check every room. Like, they did not seem
Listen,
motivated.
these are a pack of goddamn Barney Fifes, and I'm not having it. So, I'm not lovable at all. This Barney Fife was gosh darn lovable. Um,
Just wasn't great at
they
his
say
job.
the state lab will be here in an hour. Um, and the doctor's like, well, she's gonna be asleep. She's not gonna be awake for like 4+ hours.
Mhm.
So guess what they do? They just left her.
Yeah,
They just left her there all
right.
alone in the house. Um,
Standard protocol.
Claire's Claire's dad is in shock. Everybody so he, like, passes out, so everyone rushes to him, and then everyone rushes him to the hospital, and they all leave, and they just forget about her.
Well, yeah, you gotta take care of the middle-aged white guy. Yeah.
Right, so she's alone, everyone turns off the light, and everyone fucking leaves, because I think that what happens they're showing you, like,
Mhm.
she got lost in the shuffle and they forgot about her.
Yep.
And I wrote, "Oh my god, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck," in gigantic letters at the bottom of my
'Cause
page.
you knew what was about to happen.
I well, because here's the thing, like, I knew that the calls were coming from inside the house, and I knew that at the end, like, this thing that was about to happen happened, but I didn't realize that they fucking left her
Oh,
alone.
yeah. That makes it more terrifying.
So they pan to the bloodstained bed, pan
Mhm.
to Claire's room, pan in the slowest pan ever to the attic ladder. This is the tension in this was
And
so
they
good because
hold
I
it
was
there.
waiting, waiting,
Yeah.
waiting, waiting. Um, we have a very long linger, and then we see the dead bodies upstairs. So he's moved them upstairs? Or is it
Uh,
just oh, no, it's, Mrs. Mack and Claire are
mhm.
upstairs, that's
Yeah.
right. And so there's complete silence. There's one single cop standing outside by himself. The phone starts ringing inside the house,
Mhm.
and it just ends, and there's no music over the
It
credits.
cuts back to the attic, and we see a foot come down.
Right. Why
We
wait, hold
see
on.
we see the foot come down.
No, 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 we don't see the foot come down, we just see the door crack open.
Oh, we see you're right,
Because
you're
I
right, you're
said
right.
to you,
You're right, you're right. We see the door
that's
crack
okay,
open. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is
Because
what
we
I
were
said.
waiting for the foot. Because 'cause we're like, "That would be
I
amazing."
was waiting for the foot. So it pans to the attic ladder, and we see the door just start to crack open a little bit
Yes,
for the
and then
attic. And
boom.
I really thought that I remembered somewhere seeing a clip where, like, a foot starts to come down, but maybe that's in one of the newer because there's, like, 3 remakes of this
Right.
movie, right? So I'm imagining maybe it's that. But it just
That's
creaks
what I
open a
would have
little
done.
bit, and then it just a long linger, and then we see the dead bodies upstairs, and then there's nothing.
So good.
And then we get complete silence over the credits.
Mhm,
Complete silence, which I thought was
mhm.
perfect. It was perfect, like, no music.
It's the phone is ringing the entire credits. It's one of the
No, no, but
notes
I'm
from
saying,
trivia.
like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the phone is ringing, but we're not getting music.
Gotcha, yeah.
We're not getting, like it's just the phone ringing with the cop standing outside
So good.
over and over and over again and no music. So my thought is, did he know she was there? Did he kill her? Because I know it's obviously supposed to be ambiguous. Is he
Mhm.
calling, 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 waiting for somebody else to pick up the phone
Right.
to, like, resume his spree? Like, because obviously he's not well. He's obviously not a well person. So he doesn't make rational decisions, you know?
I
So
mean,
who knows?
yeah, I agree with you on that.
And
I
so I
couldn't
wrote,
be happier with this ending.
yeah, no, it's the ending. First of all, I said, that was so good. Why have I never
Mhm.
seen that? And why did they remake it? I've never
Cash
seen any
grab.
of the remakes, I have to say.
Well, they remade it. They only remade
I
it
kinda wanna
once.
watch
They
them.
only remade it once in,
No, they
like,
remade
20
it twice, I'm pretty
did
sure.
they? I maybe they did.
I'm
They
pretty
most
sure they
recently did
did.
it in, like, 2016 or 19. Um,
Mhm.
listen, this movie doesn't need to be remade. I'll say it.
No.
You usually do I like this? I fucking love this movie.
Mhm.
This movie is perfect.
No, I
Uh,
like it a lot.
yeah,
It's
it does
not perfect.
listen, all right.
It is
Let
not
me rephrase
perfect,
it.
but it
It
is
is
very
it is
good.
perfectly good at what it's trying to do. It has
Yes, I would
some
agree with that.
bloat. It has some dead ends. It has some, like we said, some things that really are unnecessary, but man,
Mhm.
like it captures mood and tension and just
Yes.
like less is more better than so many movies. And
Mhm.
it's a really great example of why I am a big fan. Like I can deal with gore. I can deal with that. That's my least favorite thing in
Yeah.
horror. I love tension. I love violence, but it doesn't need to be graphic. This movie does it so well. Like as much as I love me some
Yeah.
Jason, some Friday the 13th,
Oh, of course.
you
It
know,
fulfills something different in your brain.
it does. I've always thought, which is why, and we'll talk about it in the future. I really like the movie Barbarian, which came out. It follows in the similar thing. I love
No,
movies
no
that do
spoilers,
this.
don't tell me anything
Oh no, I'm
about
not
it.
going
Don't
to
tell
say
me
anything.
anything
I'm just
about it.
saying
I don't wanna know
movies that
anything
use
about it.
tension versus
Yeah.
use violence. I love them. They're
So,
my
I
favorite.
and I think that's the thing, like, the movies that use tension are way more scary,
Mhm.
whereas the gore ones are not so much like, scary. I'm not gonna have a nightmare about that.
Yeah.
It's just, like, in the moment, you're like, "Oh, gross," like, "Oh, wow, that's fucked up." But the ones that are, like that use tension and, like, the mystery, like, leave you imagining what's gonna happen, leave you
Right.
imagining what did happen, like,
Yeah, you don't need to
those are the things,
know.
like, you stay up at night thinking about, like, that you have a nightmare
I
about maybe
love
that, like, you
appropriately used ambiguity. Yes.
Mhm. Yes. No, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I really enjoy like, I want to know the backstory of
Mhm.
Billy, but I'm also, like, totally fine not knowing it and being like, just getting the little pieces of it and just knowing that, like, he's fucked up.
Right. Well, it
Like,
leaves it
something
to
fucked
you
up
to
happened to
kind
that
of
guy.
play in your head, like, all the different ways
Right.
this and that's interesting. I will, though, say, I do have a limit to tension, and A Quiet Place is the limit to my tension. It's fucking amazing.
I
I
won't
could
watch it.
never watch it again because that
No,
movie is literally
no.
the entire movie of tension, and it's brilliant,
No, I
but I
can't
just I
either.
ca it
No,
was
too much.
yeah, I loved you need some breaks, but,
No.
oh, so
I
good.
I get I get too stressed out, and I guess that's why they have, like, lots of breaks in
Mhm.
tension. This movie had too many of those, like, weird moments trying I guess, like, trying to do that, but I they were unnecessary.
Some unnecessary
Unnecessary.
fellatio, agreed.
But and, like, weird dudes outside the window and stuff. Some of
Right,
it was
right.
too much, but I get it. I'm fine with it. I also can recognize some of that. It seems like maybe, like, a little bit of Bob Clark in it
Mhm.
because it did have a
His
little
his
bit of, like, the
style.
Christmas Story
Yeah.
feel to it, like, 'cause it was kinda silly, some of the stuff where it was like, you know, um, but no, I did like it a lot. Um, I really liked the performances of everybody were really good,
Yeah.
and and it's interesting to see people playing against for me, like, they're the type that they're known for, like, Olivia Hussey is mostly known for playing Juliet in that movie. It's, like, very famous. You've probably never seen it.
No.
Um, and then Margot Kidder, you know, this was, like, before Lois Lane, but still, like, she's been in all kinds of shit, but
Mhm.
still, like, I like seeing people that you don't expect to be in that kinda role. Margot Kidder, I feel like, just kinda played herself a little bit, maybe, like, a little bit, like, over the top. Um, but and I love, like, the little bit characters, like, Mrs. Mack is really funny. The weird dude in the wolf pelt or whatever the fuck he's wearing is, like, he's fine. Peter is the
Insane.
worst,
Insane, but well done
and
insane.
it was so necessary. He was so
Yeah.
necessary. You needed him. You needed him to be awful. You needed a reason to be like, "Fuck yeah, Juliet."
But you also needed him to believably be someone who would go over that line.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because he was
Oh, yeah.
really fucking crazy. So, he was just like a shitty person
Mhm.
who he just was shitty. I'm sure that there are so many more things that you could like talk about in regard to this movie, like all the different like, representations and
But if we're
interpretation
gonna
and
do
whatever,
that,
but we're not
this
doing
podcast will
that
never come out because I
because
can't do 3 hours of editing. That'll take me
well,
7 to
and
10 weeks.
also, listen, we're a little bit too silly for that
Yes,
right
also
now.
true.
Uh And I had my say earlier, and I just like this movie for what it is. I like that it
Yeah.
had a strong independent lady who was putting somebody in their place, and I'm
Ladies.
not thrilled that she probably died, but I really like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, Black Christmas, go see the original. Mm.
Yeah, funny story, our next movie is actually Ian, I don't know if you started watching it yet, but I did. It is also a Christmas movie.
I didn't. I'm hoping to watch some of it tonight. Yeah, and it's the second in a trilogy. So we're getting through. We're actually doing some continuity on this
Oh,
damn
it's a
podcast.
good
Look at
one.
us. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
We're doing the damn thing. We're gonna keep doing it. Our children are
Hmm.
finally sort of sleeping.
Ha!
Um,
Don't say that. They'll wake up.
we're listen. Well, the one already did, and then we had to put him back to sleep. That's why we in and out. But kids are finally starting to like sleep like people, kind of. They aren't sick like one after another for 4 months in a row. Uh, everything's kind of falling into place. So we're hoping to get back at this more regularly. Our mental health is starting to improve a little bit, so that's also helpful. And we really just love doing this, and we have a lot of
Yeah.
fun, and we love all the friends that we've made doing this that we've been really out of contact with, and so, looking forward to more shitty movies, Ian.
Oh, I got
Thank
shitty
you.
ones, but I'm excited about, like I said, next week. Like, there's some
Yeah.
fun ones coming up too. We're actually gonna start
Oh,
doing.
man, dude.
I've got you watching Barbarian in a couple weeks. I can't wait for you to see that. So we're gonna
Mhm.
try and get some more modern stuff in there to kind of mix it in a little bit more too. Just so we're just gonna we're not gonna get away from bad movies, but we're gonna watch more of like things that we just want to watch on top of things that might necessarily be. Do I like this
Here's
quality?
the thing, when's the last time I actually watched something? I
Our
don't even
children every day
remember. Like well, yeah. No, but I'm talking about, like, a
on the
movie
video
that,
monitor.
you know right. So, it's nice to watch, like, because Barbarian is technically a B movie. It was an
Mhm.
independent movie, right? It's not, like, funded by big Hollywood or whatever the fuck you wanna call it. So we are sticking to our B movie guidelines.
It starts with
Not
the letter
everything that's a
B.
B
I'm
movie is
I'm
shit.
getting it in. Yeah.
Right, like Bad Tastes, the B-est movie
Oh.
of all time, not
Mhm.
shit.
God, so good.
One of the bestest movies of all
Yeah.
time, let's say. So let's,
Yeah.
we're keeping it real.
Well, we'll keep it real. And you guys can keep it real too. Please, if you enjoy what we do, like, subscribe, write reviews as Spotify, Amazon, Carrier Pigeon, whatever you need to do. We appreciate you getting the word out
Yes.
there and supporting us. It gets our visibility up, and we just like doing it. So
Yeah.
we hope you enjoy sharing it
We're
if
on
you
all
like
the
it.
socials.
Except
We're
Twitter.
not on Twitter
Fuck
because
Twitter. Sorry,
well
I'm gonna say it. Actually, let
well,
me correct that.
first of
Yeah.
all, that
Fuck the guy who bought Twitter. I'm sorry to all the employees.
well, here's the thing. We're not on Twitter because we don't condone racism, and people
Mhm.
who ignore racism is really the thing. And
Yeah.
second of all, I just really don't like Twitter. I've never liked Twitter. I've always had a really hard time updating Twitter, as many of you may have known if you've listened to any of our other episodes where I complain about not wanting to use Twitter. We're also not on TikTok because I'm old,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's a young man's game. I watch it. I watch the talks.
I
Don't
don't.
make them.
I do not watch
So
them.
find us on the more regularly used socials
Listen, we're
by
we're on
people who
Instagram,
are
we're on Facebook. Let's call it
yeah,
what it is.
there you go.
Yeah.
Those are the
Do
ones.
I like this
Them's the
podcast.com
ones.
as well if you want to kind of read some of
Mhm.
my terrible joke taglines for each of these episodes.
Oh
Thank you
my
guys though
gosh.
for listening. We're excited to be back. We hope you're enjoying us being back too, and we will see you next week for a sequel that we
Catch you on the
can't
flippity
even
flip.
yeah, tell you how excited we are.
Bye.